Jacqueline Carter didn't expect her Saturday to be extraordinary. She had a simple plan. Pick up a dress for her daughter's school recital, grab groceries, and be home by lunch. The skies over Atlanta were clear, the sidewalks alive with chatter and the rhythm of weekend life. She wore her favorite peach blouse, her hair in soft braids, and a calm smile that came only after 3 cups of morning coffee and a quiet moment while her children still slept. Her daughter Layla, 7 years old and obsessed with sunflowers and sparkly shoes, had been looking forward to the recital for weeks. Jacqueline wanted her to feel special. The recital was just a school thing, a bunch of second graders trying to keep a rhythm. But to Layla, it was everything. She deserved to feel beautiful. Jacqueline had found a boutique on Peachtree Street with a display full of tiny dresses, bright and elegant. It wasn't her usual spot. Most of her clothes came from discount outlets and online clearance pages. But this once, just once, she wanted something nice, something that made Layla glow. She stepped inside the store, immediately noticing the silence that fell. 2 saleswomen near the front counter paused their conversation. A manager stood a few feet away, eyes flicking toward Jacqueline before going back to arranging hangers. The boutique smelled of fresh linen and floral perfume. Light jazz played overhead. Jacqueline offered a soft smile to the nearest employee. "Hi," she said. "I'm just looking for something for my daughter. Her recital's coming up." The woman blinked at her but said nothing, then turned away. Jacqueline's smile faltered, but she said nothing. Maybe they were just busy. Maybe she was overthinking. She walked through the racks. The clothes were exquisite. Little satin dresses with lace edges, cotton pieces with embroidered patterns. She found one, soft yellow, sunflower-shaped buttons down the front, exactly Layla's style. Holding it up, she turned slightly toward the mirror, and then she heard it, a whisper. "She doesn't look like she can afford that." Her heart paused. The voice was faint but not faint enough. She wasn't supposed to hear it, and yet she did. Jacqueline lowered the dress and glanced toward the counter. The saleswoman who had ignored her earlier was now speaking to the manager in hushed tones, glancing her way every few seconds. The manager nodded, then disappeared into the back. It could have ended there. Jacqueline could have walked out, left the dress behind. But her daughter's face, the one that lit up when she talked about the recital, stayed in her mind. So she stayed. She walked toward the fitting room. A moment later, she was met halfway by the manager. "Ma'am," he said, his voice cold and firm, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave the dress here while you browse." Jacqueline blinked. "Excuse me?" "It's store policy. Customers may not take merchandise into fitting rooms until they've been verified." "Verified?" The word hung in the air like a blade. "I'm just trying to find a dress for my daughter," she said. "Is there an issue?" He didn't answer. But behind her, she heard the rustle of a walkie-talkie. Then footsteps. A security guard entered from a back door. "Everything all right, sir?" he asked the manager. "Just a precaution," the manager replied, not taking his eyes off her. Jacqueline turned fully toward the guard. He was tall, white, maybe in his mid-40s. His badge said, "Contract Enforcement," not police. But the weight of his presence was enough to make her gut tighten. "I haven't done anything," she said calmly, clutching the dress. "I just wanted to try this on." "We've had issues before," the manager said. "Certain individuals come in, pretend to shop, leave with items they didn't pay for." "Certain individual," she repeated. "You mean black women?" "No, I didn't say that." "But you meant it." The guard stepped slightly closer. Not touching, but close enough to intimidate. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to hand over the dress and exit the store." A few shoppers had begun to watch. A white woman with a stroller paused near the entrance, her eyes wide. Another woman, younger, pretended to browse while sneaking glances over her shoulder. Jacqueline's hands shook. "This is a mistake," she said, her voice tight. "You're profiling me. I haven't even tried anything on. I haven't touched anything I didn't pick up." "You've been behaving suspiciously," the manager said. "You were watching the counter. You avoided eye contact." "I was shopping." The manager gestured. The guard reached forward, not roughly armed, not yet, but firmly enough to tug the dress from her hands. And that's when her voice broke. "I came in here to buy something for my child," she said. "And the only reason you're doing this, the only reason this is happening, is because I'm black." No one moved. No one said anything. Not the shoppers, not the employees, not the manager. The guard took the dress. "Let's go, ma'am." They walked her out, into the sunlight, onto the sidewalk, as if she were a criminal. Her head spun, her cheeks burned. She could feel eyes on her, not just from the store, but from the street. People walking by, curious, confused. She didn't cry until she got to her car, and then she couldn't stop. That night she told her story online. A long, painful post. No hashtags, no catchy slogans. Just truth. She recounted everything. The way they looked at her, the things they didn't say but clearly thought, the manager's face, the guard's silence, the humiliation of being dragged out of a store for doing nothing wrong. Within hours it spread. Friends reshared, then strangers, then activists. By morning, her story had over 20,000 likes. By noon, it was trending. The boutique, Petite Elegance, issued a statement. "We regret the misunderstanding and value all our customers equally." But people weren't buying it, especially not when another woman, Black, also from Atlanta, commented that the same store had followed her closely weeks earlier. Then another, then another. It wasn't just a one-time mistake, it was a pattern. A week later, Jacqueline stood outside the boutique again. This time she wasn't alone. She held a sign. "Shopping while Black shouldn't be a crime." Around her stood 20 people, then 50, then 100. Mothers, fathers, college students, church leaders, white allies, cameras, news vans. The store tried to stay open, but customers hesitated. Employees looked out nervously. Eventually, the owner, a woman in her 60s, rich, pale, distant, stepped outside. "We never meant to offend anyone," she said to the press. "This has all been blown out of proportion." Jacqueline stared her down. "Your employees made assumptions about me based on my skin," she said. "That's not a misunderstanding. That's discrimination." The owner didn't respond. She went back inside. But the damage was done. The protest continued for days. The boutique's Yelp page flooded with reviews. Local news stations ran interviews. Civil rights groups sent letters. And behind the scenes, a lawyer reached out to Jacqueline. "You have a case," he said. "False accusation, public humiliation, racial profiling. We can make them answer." She hesitated. She didn't want to be famous. She just wanted dignity. But dignity sometimes had to be demanded. 3 months later, they were in court. The boutique's lawyer tried to spin the story, claimed it was a security protocol, said Jacqueline had acted aggressively, that her online story had damaged their reputation unfairly. But videos showed otherwise. One customer had recorded the whole thing from the doorway, the dress, the manager's tone, the guard's intrusion. The jury watched it, quietly, unblinking. Jacqueline sat beside her attorney, hands folded. Her children waited at home, not old enough to understand why their mother was on TV. The verdict was swift. The boutique was ordered to issue a public apology, to compensate damages, and, as part of a settlement, to undergo racial bias training for all employees. Jacqueline refused the hush money. She wanted the story public. When she stepped out of the courthouse, reporters asked her what she wanted people to remember. She paused, and then said, "We are not threats. We are not thieves. We are not invisible. We are worthy of respect. No more silence. No more shame." Today, Jacqueline Carter works with a local justice initiative, helping other victims of public racial bias share their stories. She never bought the dress from that boutique, but Layla got one anyway, yellow with sunflower buttons, from a Black-owned shop 2 streets over. And when she danced at the recital, her mother cried, not from sadness, but from pride, and from the unshakable truth. They tried to humiliate her, but she stood up anyway.